Welcome to Excellent Grades Academy. This is Dr. Byson AM. Today we're looking at an introduction to immunology. You can register for our classes on the number on the screen, +260 975 497790. Let's get into our lesson. The golden question for today is, what is immunology? So immunology is a study of the immune system, including its responses to pathogens, tissue damage, and its role in disease. Now, when you look at this word, immunology, it's made up of two words, immuno and logy. Immuno is just from immune, the immune system. Logy means to study. So immunology is simply the study of the immune system. Everything that we're going to do in immunology will be focused on how the body responds to pathogens and how the body prevents and eradicates infections. The immune system is simply a collection of cells, tissues, and molecules that mediate resistance to infection. As we go on in this lecture, we're going to look at the specific cells and the organs that are involved in the immune system. Immunity simply refers to the resistance of the host to pathogens and their toxic effects. So all the toxic effects that pathogens cause to the body, the cells causing resistance to that is what we call immunity. An immune response is said to be a coordinated response of immune cells and molecules towards infectious microbes. So whenever microbes, foreign pathogens enter or invade an organism, the response that the immune system coordinates to respond to this infection is what we call an immune response. So this is a schematic diagram showing you, as you can see, the immune system in the body blocking the entry of these pathogens here. So this is the body fighting microbes. I've added another one here. The immune system acts as a shield that protects the body from infections. So these are microorganisms. Microorganisms include viruses, parasites, and bacteria. So anything that may want to cause infection in the body is shielded from the body by the immune system. Now let's look at the functions of the immune system. What is the function of the immune system? Number one, to prevent and eradicate infection. So the immune system will prevent the infections, microbes from entering the body. But in a case where infections enter the body, these cells of the immune system will make sure to eradicate those infections. Secondly, defense against growth of tumor cells. The immune system will kill tumor cells. Tumor cells are simply cells that have lost their ability to control their replication, their rate of dividing. So when your cells lose their control of division, they will start dividing at a rapid rate and will form growths that are called tumors or cancers. What the immune system will do is that it will kill any rapidly growing cell. Any rapidly growing cells that may cause a tumor or a cancer. Number three is homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is simply the maintenance of a normal internal environment. The internal environment has to be at optimal state for the normal functioning of an organism. The immune system will make sure that the body is at homeostasis by clearance of dead cells and tissue repair initiation. If there's any tissue that has been damaged in the body, the immune system is going to initiate the repair of that tissue. Number 4 is just maintenance of autophagy. When you are born, the immune system recognizes all your body cells. So anything that is not part of your body when you were born is going to be destroyed by the immune system. For those who receive grafts and organ transplants, those organ transplants will be damaged by the immune system. So what is done is that there are immune suppressant medications or agents that are given so that your transplant are not damaged by the immune system. Now, the immune system is made up of, number 1, organs of the immune system and the cells of the immune system. This is where it gets very, very interesting. Let's look at these organs. So classification of the organs of the immune system is in 2. The what we call central lymphoid organs, also known as primary organs, and peripheral lymphoid organs, also known as secondary organs. So these are called central or primary organs because this is where your immune cells are formed and that's where they grow and mature. Examples of these central organs are your bone marrow and your thymus. Very soon I'm going to show you an image of where they are located in the body. Peripheral or secondary organs include the spleen, the lymph nodes, the tonsils, the adenoids, the Peyer's patches, and the appendix. These are secondary because that's where your lymphatic cells perform their function. That's where they destroy or take care of the bacteria that has invaded the body. Now, this is a drawing that shows you where your organs are. So your tonsils are near your pharynx, at the back of your throat. Okay, just at the back of your mouth, near the oropharynx. These are lymph nodes. They are found around the neck region. So they are called cervical lymph nodes. So the neck is called the cervix. That's why they are referred to as cervical lymph nodes. There are also lymph nodes near here. This is the armpit. Anatomically, we call it the axilla. So these are called axillary lymph nodes. There are also lymph nodes here. They're found in the inguinal region. So they're known as inguinal lymph nodes. And then you have the thymus. The thymus is an organ that disintegrates as someone grows. So you can only find it in children, but in adults, it has totally atrophied. It has disintegrated. The thymus in children is found just behind your sternum, which is your breastbone. So it is posterior to your breastbone and it is anterior to the esophagus and the trachea. The spleen is found near the superior border of the greater curvature of the stomach. Peyer's patches are lymphoid aggregates. So these are simply aggregates of lymphatic cells in the submucosa of your small intestines. So these are your organs of the immune system. Okay, this classification, we've already talked about it. Primary organs and the secondary organs. Now let's shift our focus to the cells of the immune system. So the cells of the immune system include the white blood cells. They are granulocytes, lymphocytes, monocytes, and macrophages. Let's discuss these in detail and look at how they protect the body. So all your white blood cells are formed from what we call the blood stem cell. This is called the hematopoietic stem cell. The hematopoietic stem cell will produce two cell lines. It will produce your myeloid cell and it will produce your It will produce your lymphoid stem cell. Your myeloid stem cell will produce red blood cells and your platelets. But we're not going to focus on the red blood cells and the platelets because we are looking at white blood cells. And it will also produce your myeloblast. Your myeloblast will produce your granulocytes, which include eosinophil, neutrophil, and basophil. They will also produce monocytes. So these are called granulocytes because they contain granules in their cytoplasm. So as you can see here, the eosinophil has got these red granules. They appear red in eosinophils because they are stained by acidic dyes. Here, they appear blue in basophils because they are stained by basic dyes. And they are also present in neutrophils. And then your lymphoid stem cells produce your lymphoblast. Your lymphoblast will give you your B lymphocyte, your T lymphocyte, and your natural killer cell. Your natural killer cell. Let me show you another diagram that will show the same thing. Here, I want you to concentrate on the monocytes. We didn't talk about the monocytes. So the monocytes are also come from the myeloid stem cell. Types of immunity. What are the types of immunity that we have in the body? You've got two main types. You've got the innate immunity and the adaptive immunity. The innate immunity is also known as natural immunity. Natural immunity, or it is also known as native immunity because you are born with it. It provides the first line of defense in the body, first line of immunity, and it offers immediate protection. When your pathogen infects you right now, the first immunity to respond is called the innate immunity. And these mechanisms of the innate immunity are present even before microbial invasion. So you don't need a microbe to infect you for the innate immunity to develop. You are born with it already. Adaptive immunity offers second line immunity. So innate immunity will come and act first, and then adaptive immunity will come in second. It offers delayed protection, and it is a specialized defense. So one thing you should know is that innate immunity is non-specific, but adaptive immunity is specific. There's always a question in exams that talks about comparing and contrasting between adaptive immunity and innate immunity. So that is one of the differences. Evolution of immunity. So we divided it into innate immunity, which is non-specific and it is of immediate onset. Acquired immunity, it is specific and it has delayed onset. Acquired immunity can further be divided into two. We have cellular immune response, which involves the activation of the T lymphocytes of acquired immunity. And we have humoral immune response. This involves the production of antibodies from the B lymphocytes of acquired immunity. So this diagram just shows us the cells that are innate immunity and are in adaptive immunity. So monocytes, macrophages, natural killer cells, neutrophils, mast cells, eosinophils, basophils, and dendritic cells are part of the innate immunity. Adaptive immunity has got natural killer cells, B lymphocytes, and T lymphocytes. Now, one thing of note is that your natural killer cells are found both in innate immunity and adaptive immunity. So if you were to be asked which cell is found both in innate immunity and adaptive immunity, it is your natural killer cells. This is an illustration of how your innate immunity and your acquired immunity respond to a pathogen. So if this is your pathogen, cells of your innate immunity, which include your neutrophils, natural killer cells, macrophages, dendritic cells, will come and attack this pathogen, which can be your bacteria, or your virus, or your parasite. Your T lymphocyte, your acquired immunity will respond in two ways. It will respond by, one, producing activation of T lymphocytes, which are killer cells, or it will produce helper T lymphocytes, which will go and activate your B cells, which are your B lymphocytes, and these B lymphocytes will produce antibodies. The antibodies are called immunoglobulins. Now, the examples of immunoglobulins that we have, number one, we have immunoglobulin A, which is called IgA. And then we have immunoglobulin E, which is called IgE. And we have immunoglobulin D, which is called IgD. And then we have immunoglobulin G, which is called IgG. Right. Now, let's dig deep and focus on the innate immunity. So, remember, we said that the innate immunity is also known as your natural or your native immunity. It is the first line of defense and comes before the adaptive immune response. It is found in all multicellular organisms. And it provides a wide range of protection against a variety of pathogens. So, your innate immunity, the role is to block entry of microbes and rapidly eliminate those that breach the epithelium. It works independent of prior exposure. So, for the innate immunity to be active, you don't need to be sick. You don't need to have had that infection before. Okay? It will just be there because you are born with it. The one characteristic of the innate immunity is that it lacks memory of the response and its benefits. Defects in innate immunity are very rare and almost always lethal. So if you have a defect in the innate immunity, the effects are very lethal. You will die from it. Let's look at the components of the innate immune system. There are two components of the innate immune system. Number one, you have what you call epithelial barriers, and then you have cells of the innate immune system. So epithelial barriers, number one, you have the skin. Your skin will prevent microbes from gaining access into your body. So the skin is part of the innate immune system. The skin will also produce lactic acid, which will give it a very low pH. And the low pH is an unconducive environment for a microbe to flourish in or to grow in. The skin also has what we call normal flora. Now, normal flora is bacteria that is part of your body. So this bacteria does not harm you, but it actually prevents you from pathogenic bacteria. What we mean by pathogenic bacteria is that this pathogenic bacteria is going to cause infection in your body. So there is a symbiotic kind of relationship between the normal flora and an organism. The normal flora benefits from the body, and the body also benefits from the normal flora. Last but not the least, the skin produces sweat, and in the sweat there is salt. The salt provides an unconducive environment for pathogenic bacteria to grow. So it is a protective mechanism. The other component of epithelial membranes are mucous membranes. Mucous membranes are membranes that line the cavities of your body. For example, the esophagus is lined by mucous membranes. The mouth, the stomach, the respiratory tract, the vagina, the urethra, the eyes. So wherever there is a cavity in the body, they are lined by mucous membranes. Now, let's look at these specific mucous membranes and how they are able to act as immune They're able to act as immune systems. So in the respiratory tract, the mucous membranes will produce mucus, which will trap your bacteria, and the hairs will also trap your bacteria. The mucous membranes also contain cilia. Cilia will push the mucus that contains bacteria up the respiratory tract, and this mucus will be expelled through the mouth. The cough reflex is also a protective. The cough reflex of the respiratory tract is also a protective reflex, because when something enters your respiratory tract, you immediately cough it out. That is immunity. The GIT tract has got hydrolytic enzymes. These hydrolytic enzymes are going to kill bacteria that invade the GIT, and there is also acid that is produced in the stomach. So in the case where you swallow something that has got microbes, the acid in the stomach are going to kill those microbes. The urogenital system, which is your urinary system and your reproductive system, has got the washing effect of urine. So as you are urinating, the urine will remove the bacteria or any pathogen that is along the urethra. Furthermore, the urine is also acidic. So the acidic environment of urine will produce an unconducive environment for the bacteria to grow in. And to add on, in the vagina, there is production of lactic acid. In the vagina, you also find normal flora. So this normal flora will antagonize the growth of pathogenic microbes such as viruses and bacteria, and so will act as a protective medium in the vagina. In the eye produces an enzyme called lysozyme. So if a bacteria enters your eye, this lysozyme is going to kill the bacteria. There's also production of tears. The blinking effect of the eye also prevents the entry of microbes in your eyes. So that is about the epithelial membranes being part of your innate immune system. This is just a diagram that I added for you to appreciate the epithelial membranes. So these are chemical barriers. There's hydrochloric acid in the stomach, lysozymes in the eyes and production of tears, cough reflexes, sneezing, mechanical barriers, which are your skin and your mucous membranes. Now let's move on and talk about the cellular components of the innate immune system. The first cells that we're going to talk about are called neutrophils. The neutrophils are also called polymorphonuclear leukocytes or polymorphoneutrophils, which are your PMNs. Neutrophils are the most abundant white blood cells in the blood. They are about 55% of the total white blood cells, and they have a very short lifespan. In the blood, they only live for 6 to 12 hours. In the tissues, they only live for about 4 to 5 days. These are the first line cells in acute inflammation, and they have receptors for antibodies and the complement system. Now, how do neutrophils work? Neutrophils work by a process called phagocytosis. This is very important. That's why I highlighted it here. They work through a process called phagocytosis. So phagocytosis is a process where the neutrophil is going to internalize a bacteria and kill that bacteria. There are two ways in which these neutrophils kill the bacteria by phagocytosis. So the first one is called oxygen-dependent phagocytosis, and the other one is called oxygen-independent phagocytosis. So very quickly, let me just show you how oxygen-dependent phagocytosis and oxygen-independent phagocytosis occur. Oxygen-dependent phagocytosis occurs by, so there is phagocytosis stimulates a respiratory burst accompanied by a transient increase in oxygen consumption. So this generates an NADPH oxidase, which converts oxygen into the damaging superoxide anion. Further reactions produce a range of antimicrobial chemicals, including hydrogen peroxide and hydroxy radicals. So these antimicrobial chemicals are the ones that kill the bacteria after it has been internalized by the neutrophils. The takeaway from oxygen-dependent phagocytosis is that after the neutrophil has phagocytosed or internalized the bacteria, oxygen superoxides are going to kill that bacteria. For oxygen-independent phagocytosis, when the neutrophil internalizes the bacteria, lysozymes, enzymes called lysozymes that are present inside of the neutrophils are going to be injected in the bacteria, and that will disrupt the cytoplasmic membranes of the bacteria, which breaks down the peptidoglycan layer of the bacteria, and it will die. So those are the two types of phagocytosis by neutrophils. Let's move on to other cells of the innate immune system called basophils. So basophils are white blood cells that contains high affinity receptors for immunoglobulin E, and it has cytoplasmic inflammatory mediators that are trapped in granules which contain histamine and heparin and tumor necrosis factor. So basophils have got granules that contain inflammatory mediators that include histamine, heparin, and tumor necrosis factor. What happens is that when basophils are in contact with pathogens, they are going to release these inflammatory mediators, and inflammation is going to ensue. It is going to happen. Inflammation includes swelling, redness, pain, and increase in body temperature. That's why when you have an infection in your body temperature goes up because of basophils. Mast cells are white blood cells that will secrete chemicals called cytokines. So cytokines will also cause your body temperature to go up because they will induce inflammation. Mast cells specifically will produce chemicals called chemokines. Chemokines are chemicals that will attract other white blood cells such as monocytes and neutrophils. So it will call other white blood cells to the site where the infection is going on. And when neutrophils and monocytes come, they are going to eradicate that infection. So mast cells are also capable of inducing an inflammatory cascade. Other cells are called mononuclear phagocytes, which are also called monocytes. So these monocytes will migrate into tissues and are called macrophages. They carry out phagocytosis and digest engulfed material and will also kill non-engulfed material. One specific thing about mononuclear phagocytes is that they will be called by a different name depending on where they are located. So those mononuclear phagocytes that are located in the kidney are called meningeal cells. Have you seen the statement? It's mononuclear phagocytes have specialized names depending on the site. Those that are found in the kidneys are called meningeal cells. Those that are found in the connective tissue are called histiocytes. Those that are found in the bone called osteoclasts. Then those that are found in the liver are called Kupffer cells. Those that are found in the brain are called microglial cells. Those that are found in the skin and the mucosa are called Langerhans cells. Those in the joints are called synovial cells. In the lung, pulmonary alveoli or dust cells. And those that are found in the bone marrow are called reticulum cells. Those that are found in the lymph nodes, in the spleen, the red pulp of the spleen, are called retinal cells. And those that are found in the placenta are known as Hofbauer cells. Alright, now let's shift our attention to natural killer cells, the very important cells of both the innate immune system and the natural killer, the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. Natural killer cells are very large cytotoxic cells. What this means is that natural killer cells will kill cells that have been infected by a microbe. So what happens is that when a microbe infects a cell, it will use the machinery of that cell, the resources of that cell to multiply, and it will kill that cell, burst to other cells and infect cells. But before that happens, natural killer cells will kill cells that are infected by bacteria or that are rapidly multiplying. Remember, in the beginning, we said that cells of the immune system need the thymus for maturation. There's an exception for natural killer cells. Natural killer cells do not need the thymus for their development. Okay, they do not need the thymus for their development. Natural killer cells kill using an enzyme called perforin. It will perforate the cell and it will perforate the bacteria using an enzyme called perforin. The last but not the least cells called dendritic cells. Second last, only. Dendritic cells are highly migratory cells. So if you have to remember something about dendritic cells, is that they are highly migratory cells. They are less than 1% of the total mononuclear cells. Right. So dendritic cells act as peripheral sentinels. They detect, decipher, and respond to signs of antigen invasion. An antigen is anything that is not part of your cell. If there is any invasion in the body by a microbe, the antigen will detect that. So these cells are so important because they serve as a link between the innate and adaptive immune system. So we've come to the end of our lesson. Just remember, there is nothing worthwhile that comes from a place of comfort. There is nothing worthwhile that comes from a place of procrastination. Keep on keeping on, work hard, study hard. I'll see you in the next video. Comment, ask questions, subscribe, share to your friends, and let's medicine together.